Is there any other part of your story that you wanted to focus in on today? I know you shared a lot of it.
No, I guess the real thing is, listen to what people have to say, and I feel like I'm a pretty observant person.
Yeah.
And so, when I was a teenager, I observed that this friend of mine, good friend at the school, there was something different about her.
Mm.
The phys ed teacher, there was something different. And I think sometimes we're so busy and we don't really take the time to listen to other people. We don't take
Yeah.
the time to interact with other people. We don't take the time to really observe their actions and their words. And I mean, it can get us into trouble too, but I think
Yeah.
God's going to take you to the right place. And I think we need to take the time to just sort of like not be in such a hurry and to listen to other people. They have a story to tell too.
That's so good. That's such great advice. Yeah. And I remember, and people will notice, like with us being Christians, people will see a difference in us. And I'll never forget, there's this little boy when I was student teaching, and the student teacher that I was under, like, she was very cruel. Like, I'm not a crier, and I'd leave crying a lot of days just because she's very discouraging. And a little boy in that class, he was a very troubled boy. He just had a really hard home life. But he asked me one day, he was like, what's different about you? Why are you always smiling all the time? Why are you always happy? Like, and I just wanted to be like, and I wish I would have just done that. I was fearful of the teacher at the
Yeah.
time and what she would have done and said because it was in a public school. But I wish I would have gone through and pushed through that fear and been like, it's Jesus. Like that is who is giving me the hope that I have, and that is who is giving me the joy that I have to push through because he would see how the teacher would react to me and talk to me, like even in front of the students. So, um, yeah, and then I was able to, I didn't talk when I was a public school teacher here. It's not like I read Bible stories to them or talked to them about God, but I even had like aides in my class. So I would talk to them about God and what he was doing in my life, like in front of the students. I didn't hold back when you love someone so much, when you love God so much. I say this all the time, like you can't help but talk about him. It just comes up. So,
I had the opportunity several times, in my years of teaching and coaching. I coached for many years and I had the opportunity to, share things with the kids. And I think it was a little bit easier perhaps at the School for the Blind to be able to do that.
yeah.
But I I probably didn't take advantage of it as much as I needed to.
Yeah.
And I probably didn't take advantage of every opportunity that God put there. I think we all miss opportunities periodically.
Yeah. And it's a learning experience when we
Yeah.
miss those opportunities. I have another story. Like I was so busy. I was at the gym. That's where you just came from. But it was in college and these guys were like, I would pay so much money just to know what happens like after we die and to learn all that. If I would have just taken the time, like I had in my head, okay, I want to get this workout done and then I need to get to class. So like I didn't take that opportunity. And that was like God putting right in front of me a crystal clear way that I could have shared Christ. So again, looking back on those, I probably won't forget those things where I like didn't take the opportunity. So that just makes me more bold in my faith now to just stop what I'm doing, quit being so busy, and share the hope that I have in Christ. So, what encouragement or advice would you give to someone who is differently able? Do you share a little bit in your story? And what I said sticks out to me is how much grit you have, how much just strength you have to push through and to follow God's path that He's leading you on. But what encouragement would you give?
So I think the first thing I would say is what I tell the story. My parents never held any of us back. I rode a bike when I was a kid. I
Hmm.
climbed trees and the telephone poles and played tag with the neighborhood kids and in the
Yeah.
street and all that kind of stuff. Um, so when I came and started teaching here, I encountered all different uh, students,
Yeah.
and some very obviously were overprotected.
Mhm.
And so I asked my mom one day, because I thought, well, I may as well go right to the source there.
Yeah.
I said, uh, what made you be willing to allow us to do basically what we wanted? I mean, within reason, of course. But
Yeah.
she said when I was 3, she and my dad went to what was called a summer nursery program at the Overbrook School for the Blind in Philadelphia, and it is where parents and their blind children went for, I don't know how many days, or I don't know how, because I think it changed after a while. But anyway,
Okay.
um, and the children were, with people, and then the parents met, you know. And my mom said the first speaker, who I actually know, the first speaker said to them, the very first thing that she said to them was, "You have these are your children. They can't see, but they're your children first, and you need to raise them as if you were raising another child."
Yeah.
And I said, "Well, I'm thankful that you all listen to that,
Yeah.
because that doesn't always happen." So I think probably the first thing is to really embrace the your children, and love them. They are children first,
Yeah.
and then whatever their impairment might be, you know then uh seek other people that might be in a similar situation as you. uh Also, you know um depending on what the disability might be, uh try to, don't hesitate to seek all the resources that you can get. And so, like, if you have a blind child, even if you don't know somebody else with a blind child, there's blind adults, talk with them.
Yeah.
That's probably one of the best resources that can be out there.
Yeah.
But I think the first thing is, regardless of somebody's ability or disability or whatever, they are a person, and God has put them here for a reason,
Absolutely.
and they're here to be loved and be taught how to love as well.
Yeah.
And so I try to think every day, yeah, I can't see, but how can I serve? Um, you know, I might do something different than somebody else. I have a little phrase, and I'm going to read it because I don't always remember it.
Yeah.
It's not how well we see things; it's the vision for how we get things done that's important. Um, and
That's so
so,
good.
you know, I try to live that. It doesn't really matter that I can't see.
Yeah.
I
That's
also,
so great.
I like Psalm 16:11. It says, "You have made known to me the path of life. You will fill me with joy in your presence, with uh, eternal pleasures at your right hand." And so I think, uh, bring joy to a person's life, regardless of what other things might be happening.
Yeah. That's wonderful, Miss Donna. You're like a wealth of wisdom. Okay, so
I've lived a long time.
yeah, and I want to stop and say too, like a lot of times, because I always pray, like, God, who do you want me to ask to have on the podcast? Like, whose story do you want to, share? And 99% of people that I've asked are usually like, I have to pray about it, which is totally fine. Like, I get that. And they just don't feel comfortable sharing. It's hard talking about yourself and about the hard stuff that you've been through, but like as soon as I ask you, immediately, and it just shows your faith and your boldness, like immediately you were like, absolutely, I would love to, like. And so that was encouraging to me too, just to see you like just step into that and say like, yes, I'm going to share about what God's done in my life. So I'm really proud of you for doing that too. So, what encouragement or advice would you give to someone who has a loved one? Well, you kind of shared about
Yeah.
that, who is differently abled. Um, so moving on to the next question, what are some of the biggest ways that you have seen God show up in your life?
Wow.
And again,
Well,
that could tie into, I mean, you shared a little bit about like just the people that he's placed in your life,
yeah.
but what else?
So not, I think not only the people, but I also think, you know, I had a friend say I was an athlete
Yeah. What
as a
sports did you
I
do?
did mainly swimming and
Okay.
track and field. Um, but swimming was more of my thing. And I had somebody say to me one time, and when they first said it, I was like, okay, that's interesting. Um, it was actually his sister that said it, and these were good people, so
Yeah.
they weren't meaning anything by it. She said to him, she said, if Donna wasn't blind, she wouldn't be able to be in the Paralympics. And so when they first told me that, I was like, what? Uh, but that was true.
Yeah.
So I just think God, I had, I was born blind, not totally blind. I was able to see colors till I was about 11, thankfully, because you can't
Okay.
describe colors to people. So at least I have some understanding of colors.
Okay.
But um, I I would not have had near the opportunities that I had. I don't think I would have. God just provided all kinds of opportunities. In 1976 was the first year the blind participated in the Paralympics. I was still a student at the Overbrook School for the Blind. I would have never had the opportunity to even make that Paralympic team had I not been at a school
Wow.
for the blind, because that's where, the organization was tapping into the schools for the blind to get athletes
Yeah.
from the schools for the blind. And I happened to make that team in 1976.
That's amazing. I didn't
Um,
know that.
yeah, went to
Wow.
Toronto, Canada for the first time the blind ever participated in the Paralympics. But
Very
God
cool.
had me in the right place, for that to even occur. And thankfully, and that was the my mom was able to go to that Paralympics and watch me. She was
Nice.
never able to go to any others after that, uh, but she was able to drive to Canada, and two ladies from her work took off. They took off work and came.
Yeah, that's a
And
big deal.
it is, but God put that there. I mean, I had that all arranged, and I had the opportunity to go other places than through competitive swimming.
Nice.
But not only through that, it led me to a swim team over in Cumberland, Maryland, and I now have lifelong friends from that
That's
experience.
so cool.
So I think, well, I know God has just put me in places to build relationships with people from all walks of life. People who are athletes, people who are teachers, people who are, pastors, people who
Yeah.
are, just all walks of life. And I'm convinced that I am still here in Romney because I'm like a part of the community.
You are.
And,
Absolutely.
and obviously my church family,
Yeah.
but the community as well.
Yeah.
I,
That's so
I don't know if
great.
that really answers your
No, that
question,
that
but
does
it's,
absolutely. And I'm like, I swam in high school and I did track and field as well, but like all the sports that I did, I was just very average at. So you could probably still show me up. And you literally came from the pool this morning. So that's like that's encouraging to people too. What were some of the things that you maybe really enjoyed when you were younger? And why do we stop doing the things that we enjoy and the gifts that God's given us? Like I still run every morning. Like normally I just run a mile and then I do some like weightlifting, and it's just something that I enjoy, and it's one of the things that I do for myself in the busy life that we're living. And I pour out a lot, but that's like a time where it's me time.
well,
So
and I think it is important to take some me time
yeah.
every day. And that can be, obviously, time with God is
Yes.
important. because you can spend time with God while you're running on that
I
treadmill.
listen to my
Yeah,
Bible. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. I mean, I listen to like podcasts and stuff
Yeah.
when I'm on the elliptical, and that's kind of hard to do in the pool.
Right. Yeah. That
But
could be prayer time. I mean,
yeah, yeah. And actually, it is, and I've
yeah.
about gotten myself into some trouble with that because I run into the wall periodically. But
Uh,
but you know, so I think it's so important to know what makes you happy to have some me time.
yeah.
Whether that's, I don't know, walking outside, or
Yeah.
whether that's whatever. But for me, it is swimming, and just working out in general.
Yeah. Same.
I do say though that I work out so I can support my eating habits because I do like to eat.
Same.
So
I agree. Yeah, that's so good. So like finding something, and that's doesn't take up a whole lot of your time. It's just little things that you can do each day. And I know
but
like
that's another thing. So the wellness center has
hmm
been open, what, 17 years, I think.
okay,
Yeah.
yeah.
And so the first few times, I don't remember, my mom took me because I didn't really know anybody that was going.
Yeah.
And I don't know, maybe about the third day that I was there, uh, a lady from church and then another lady happened to be standing outside, at the pool lane when I got out. And another school friend was with me, and they said,
Yeah.
are you guys Olympic swimmers? And we kind of laughed, and we I said, well, I did swim in the Paralympics at one time.
Very
And
humbly.
so we just kept talking, and this one lady said, I come in, I'm going to try to come and swim every morning. And
Wow.
I said, where do you live? I, I normally am not quite that bold,
Yeah.
but I just said, where do you live? And then she told me who she was, and then I realized, and she lived in town.
Okay.
I said, wow. I said, would you be able to pick me up in the morning? So I rode with her for I don't know how many years in the
Wow. Yeah.
mornings, before school. And then when she left town, I had already known of this other lady, and now I still ride with this other lady early in the morning every day.
That's great.
So again, God has provided me a way to continue swimming and working out with a ride because the bus doesn't run that early in the morning,
Yeah.
and not many people from Romney actually go to the wellness center in the morning.
Yeah.
So he's provided me with dedicated people that
That's great.
go.